Welcome back, Earthlings. Today is going to be part 2 of bulletproofing your body. In the previous part, we talked about balancing out exercises, and in this part, we're going to focus on your balance and stability. So how you can go from balancing beginner to balancing Buddha or a ninja. Okay, so first of all, quick medical disclaimer. I'm not a doctor or a physical therapist. Please do anything I say in this video at your own risk. I'm trying to help you guys, but I'm telling you guys what has worked for me, so please use caution and consult a professional if necessary. All right. So first, a premise. So the major premise, I'm going to give you guys a ton of exercise, but I want to also help you guys do this stuff on your own so you're not dependent on me. How did I come up with all this stuff? The basic idea is if something gets you to shake, it's good for your balance. Now, not everything, if I'm cold and shivering, that's not good for my balance, but I'm talking about muscular balance. So anything that's going to get you to shake is going to be good for your balance. So if what you're doing, if the exercises you're doing are not having you shake even a little bit, they're not really working your balance. Now there's muscular failure. So let's say I'm doing a very heavy bench press, and when my muscles are about to give out, then they're going to start shaking. I'm not talking about shaking at the end because of muscular failure. I'm talking about throughout the course of the exercise. Now, basically there's 2 common causes that I can see that contribute to poor balance. One of them is for people that aren't into fitness and don't train at all. And so in other words, if you're weak all around, then you just don't have enough strength to be in balance. So if I ask you to do something that requires some balance, it's not that you have an imbalance, you're just weak all around. All right, so that's probably a lot of the population. Now, a lot of you guys that are already into fitness and working out, you might feel like, hey, I can lift, hundreds of pounds, or I can do some fancy exercise. I'm really advanced. Like, what are you talking to me about? You might be really advanced in one area, but then you're gonna have muscular imbalances. So this applies to weightlifters, athletes, runners, nearly anyone in fitness. So don't assume because you're already into fitness that, balance is not an issue for you. The second you start training and getting intermediate or advanced, you're gonna see you have to have everything be in balance, because if let's say you're a runner, so you're gonna train more things that are gonna help you with your running and neglect some other things, or whatever. If you're a weightlifter, maybe you're focusing on your main lifts, but then you're going to start to develop some muscular imbalances unless you address them specifically. In the previous video, we talked about complementing exercises. So if you're doing push-ups, you can complement them with rows. In this video, we're going to talk about stabilizers. So if you can be weak all around, as we've said, or you have a muscular imbalance, which we addressed in part 1. But in this video, you can also, let's say you are doing both sets, so that's going to get you a long way there towards being having great balance and stability, but you also need to work your stabilizers. And I like to think of these as like your micro muscles. So let's say you do an exercise this way and you do an exercise this way, but there's a transition between here and here. And so if you never work this part, and I mean that's just an analogy for any concept. If you're not working the transitions, then your strength is going to fall off very rapidly at those transitions. A great example is the muscle up. A lot of people can do pull-ups, a lot of people can do dips, but the transition is particularly hard. So a great example of stabilizers might be regular dips on a dip machine versus ring dips. Now, if you can do, let's say, 10 or 15 dips, if you've never tried a ring dip, you might want to give that a try. And what you'll find is if it's your first time, you're going to start shaking like this. And that is a great thing, because then you're working your stabilizers. So that's the idea. Now, off the top of our heads, like, what are really bad ways? What don't you want to do if you want to improve your balance? You want to avoid things like the Smith machine that keep you in a rigid plane of motion and prevent you from getting that variety of movement. And I know a lot of people are gonna be very vocal in the comments. If you want really crazy strength gains and aesthetics, the bench press might be great, but I'm not a proponent of it for health reasons and for balance and stability. The reason being, your shoulder blades are basically limited by the bench. So if you're doing a freestanding push-up, then you can get a bigger range of motion, and I think that's a much healthier thing for balance and stability. And if you really want it to be weighted, you could wear a weight vest or have somebody like sit on you. So there's options around it. I know the bench press is a great exercise, but not for our purposes in this video. So without further ado, I'm gonna recommend a ton of things that I know have helped me and I think can help a lot of you guys. So here's a great compilation of some of my favorite exercises. They're kind of gonna go from fairly basic ones to give you like the biggest bang for your buck to other stuff. But you know what, on second thought, like, don't view the order in too much, don't ascribe too much significance to the order. Okay, so the simplest one that you could start practicing right now is just standing on one leg. So if you never do that, try to stand on one leg for 10-15 seconds. And to make it even harder, flail your other leg around, and you'll find that'll disturb your balance. And if you start losing your balance and shaking, guess what? You're working your balance, and that's exactly what we want. All right, so standing on one leg, a great thing you can do anywhere. Like let's say you're brushing your teeth, stand on one leg. You're washing the dishes, try alternating standing on one leg. Next, one leg exercises. So there are a ton of these. I mean, standing on one leg, that's just sort of like standing, but you could do a more active version, a more intense version, if you like even do a whole workout around these. So one leg exercises, at a minimum, this includes the 3 deadlift variations, which I'm gonna show you guys in this video. And that's gonna include a single leg deadlift, something I made up, which is like a sideways kind of deadlift, and a third variation, which I saw from another YouTube video where you're bent at 45 degrees and you're doing rotation. And I find that to be one of the hardest ones. Number 1. Can also do it with weights, this way or that way. Number 2. And number 3, the hardest variation. But there are many others. So you go 45 degrees. You don't go all the way this way. 45. Now you're going to rotate. Now, I want to emphasize that your imagination is the limit when it comes to these things. So the balance stability exercises you want to be doing are the ones that you're bad at. So it's not just these 3. There are many more. So if you feel like, oh, a particular plane of motion, or you have a specific weakness, then work on that one. So for example, it doesn't have to be even one leg. Like let's say you do squats, maybe you try a split squat or Bulgarian split squats with the back leg raised on a bench. Mix it up. When you do these uneven exercises, that'll help your balance a lot. Something I really love is the slackline. If you guys have never tried it, just make sure you don't hit yourself in between your legs if you're a guy. It's really fantastic, whether you're just walking, but you can also do a ton of other stuff. You could kind of get on all fours on the slackline, and I may do a slackline video in the future, we'll see, and there's tons of slackline videos on the internet, so check that out if you've never tried it. Sometimes they'll have them at a rock climbing gym. You can buy your own and just loop it around like trees or volleyball net, a volleyball post or something. Basically, I really encourage it. So the slackline is much more of an advanced exercise. So if you have really terrible balance, I wouldn't start with the slackline. Maybe start with some of the others. And once you feel like you have pretty good balance and you want to challenge yourself further, then check out the slackline. Next, we have the stability ball and other similar things. So with a slackline, also you don't even need a slackline. I mean, the slackline's even better because it's so shaky and uneven. But you can, let's say there's a log or like a metal pole on the ground, just try walking on it and you'll find you're falling off. So, I mean, this is what kids do all the time. That's a great exercise. Stability balls are uneven boards. So on the stability ball, you can, and before I even go into it, please be careful on the stability ball. So you might want to have a lot of space, a soft surface, and you can do a lot of stuff on it, from kind of being on all fours on the ball to trying to put like one leg up with a hand as a third support. And I'll link videos in the description that will show you guys what I'm talking about. It's a great, on the Art of Unity channel, so he has fantastic demos of this stuff. And so there's several things, but here's where I kind of disagree with a lot of folks. I want to promote health, but I also want to, as part of that, safety is important. So while it's really cool to do a standing squat on a stability ball, I find that the dangers of it outweigh the benefits. So I'd rather you guys do like a slack line than try to squat on a stability ball. Once you've learned it, it's fine, but the potential for danger is just so high. Like, I would say keep at least 3 supports. I mean, you could actually do like, you could be on your knees on the stability ball and try to just do like a standing thing on your knees. But if you're gonna stand on it, or especially if you're doing any weights, if you fall once, that's like a catastrophic accident potentially. So I don't advise that. To me, the benefits are far outweighed by the risk. So you can get it. If you're doing it in like a really soft space and maybe there's a spotter, but it only takes like one bad fall. So I advise against that. Now, sports such as soccer or tennis, especially, like, they have a lot of lateral movement. You got to be a little careful. So, if you have knee problems or something, it might be hard on your joints, but that will really get you that quick change of pace in the constant thing in like a half squat position. That will really help your stability and balance. I used to play a lot of tennis, so I know that's really improved my balance. So it doesn't have to be just these 2 sports. There are other sports, but yeah, you might want to check those out. Train surfing. I want to emphasize this is inside and not outside. There are some crazy folks that like to be daredevils, and I read some horrific article about something that happened to somebody that did that. But if you're on a subway train or some sort of train or bus, I mean, make sure you have like a hand near a pole, and if it's really crowded, maybe don't do this. But if you're in like a wide stance as the train is moving, you can have your hand near a pole and try to kind of surf it a little bit. That could be a really nice exercise. So you're not bored, you're not just standing, you're getting some healthy physical activity, and it's fun. Now, or you could try real surfing. I've actually never tried real surfing. That's on my to-do list. I would love to do that one day, and hopefully I'll do that soon. But that's really great. And I've heard that sometimes if you're on a slack line, and let's say the slack line's going this way, but you're standing facing the other way. So if the slack line's going this way, you're standing facing that way. You can actually go back and forth, and I've heard that kind of maybe might mimic surfing a little bit. So that's a cool thing. So try surfing. I imagine that's really great for balance, but I haven't tried that myself. Acroyoga. So in Acroyoga, you might have a partner. Let's say the partner's on their back and they're supporting you with their hands and feet, and you can look up videos. But because there's so much shaking and unevenness, that will really work some of these unusual positions and improve your balance as well. Next, this is a real core strength. This is a really, really big one. This, like the 2 big areas, like how do you improve core strength? Honestly, it's not my best recommendation. Don't just do like, crunches or one little exercise. You want to get into like gymnastics, calisthenics, a whole realm of exercises. It's not just the plank. You have the plank, the reverse plank, the side plank. push-ups, pull-ups, like tuck planches, skinning the cat, all sorts of like there's a host of gymnastics and calisthenics exercises that will really work a lot of your core. So the core is not just, you know, the abs. The core is this 360 girdle all around you. So there's a lot to properly hit the core. You can't just do one exercise. So this is a long-term game thing. So you're not going to get a great core in a week. So if you really develop a strong and good core, you guys will see that will really skyrocket your balance. But that's a long project, just so you know. So like some of these are a little quicker, like in a week or two you'll see improvements. With the core, you know, give it a few months. So even like we said, even like for the core, you try even doing ring dips. There's just so much stuff, and all like the planks, reverse planks. You can also combine those on the stability balls, right? So you can do all your core work, not just for muscles, but also for stability on an uneven surface, on a slack line, all sorts of combinations. There's various animal exercises. One of my recent great discoveries on YouTube, I love this channel, VAHVA Fitness. I'll link it in the description. He showcases a lot of these exercises. They may look funny and weird and strange, but if you try them, they're an amazing workout for your core. So that's really great for that. Shoulders. So most of these, like when we think of balance or stability and balance, we're generally thinking about your legs and lower body. But I want to emphasize that like great balance and stability is not just your like ankles, knees, and hips. You could have great balance like in terms of your stability, shoulders, every joint in your body. So for shoulders, you could do, this is not a major thing, so I don't want you guys to like get hung up on this. Like I love to do handstands, I find them fun. But you know, for shoulder stability, handstands could be great, but they're not at the top of the list. Like a reverse plank would be probably much safer and much better, because you're working this on. So if you go to part 1, we talked about balancing out exercises, and if you normally do shoulder exercises like up this way or something, maybe try like external rotations or reverse planks, hip thrusters, basically positions that you don't normally work. But that said, if you're into handstands, you'll find that will really help stabilize, get you stronger and more stable shoulders. You can also do Turkish get-ups. And again, look up videos on these things. If you can't find them, just shoot me a comment and I'll get back to you guys. Anything on the rings. The gymnastics rings are probably the best thing for like in terms of arm stability, shoulder, elbow. They are amazing. I can't emphasize how much I love them enough. So just doing ring supports, just try holding yourself up. If you've never done anything, just try to get your legs off the ground and just keep your arms straight. Don't hyperextend your elbows, but keep them straight and keep them by your sides. Try to just get your legs off the ground. Then maybe do an L-sit if you can. If you're a little stronger, try to do some dips. That's amazing for your shoulder stability, for your elbow, everything, all that stuff. Bulgarian dip. So as you kind of maybe go a little wider, as you're coming out, you turn out your elbows this way. All right, and then we have all sorts of unusual squats or weird squats, whatever you want to call them. And these are really great for, especially let's say you can squat a lot of weight, but you've been only working certain planes of motion. You're going to have imbalances, but also you're going to be unstable. You're going to have poor stability. So what are some of these unusual squats? So you could try, first of all, most people do like the back squat, so definitely try the front squat. When I first tried the front squat with a little bit of weight, I nearly had the weight fall over because I wasn't used to having like the thoracic region. It was hard for me to keep it straight. So when I would hold the weight in front of me, it would just literally topple over. So if you've never tried front squats with some weight, definitely try some front squats. Cossack squats, and that's just going side to side. You're squatting side to side. Look up video of Cossack squats. But when you're going down to each side, make sure you're going into a deep squat. You're not like half squatting. It's deep squats. Then there's twisting squats. You're standing with like a fairly wide base and you twist until you're basically sitting down, and then you untwist to get up, and that works the outside of your legs. One-legged squats, if you're strong enough, either pistol squats or like shrimp squats. A lot of you folks with like knee issues might want to be careful with the pistol squats, so you might prefer like the shrimp squats for the stronger folks amongst you. Also, the knocked knee squats, or the inside squats, where you're taught not to have your knees cave in, but if you're doing it controlled and as an exercise, and not because there's too much weight, just your body weight, you could try doing a few of those where as you squat, you're basically doing a bad squat. But you have to do it very carefully. To find out more, there's the Coach Sommer Gymnastic Bodies program, which is great. He always has a lot of great advice, and he's, I think, the former coach of the U.S. gymnastics team. So definitely check that out. And that's a lot of these ideas I picked up from him. Now, leg hops. I put an X here, not because they're fully bad. I'd say, okay, so for the average person, I don't recommend leg hops. I'd say that's more for athletes. If you really want to get more advanced or train something where you're expected to be more ballistic with stability, maybe you're a football player or a track and field runner. For most people, I find, like I said, with the stability ball squatting, the risks are not worth the rewards. So if you're doing leg hops, maybe like a few leg hops, like a little back and forth, like jumping rope, that kind of thing, that's fine. But if you're doing like extreme, like 1 meter to like 1.5 meter, 2 meter, these like huge, what if you can do 2 meter leg hops, but if you could, these huge leg hops back and forth, the ballistic nature of that may not be great for your joints. So as a general recommendation, I don't recommend that, but I just want to put that on your radar in case it's helpful for your sport or more athletic reasons. But I wouldn't recommend them for health, really, in moderation, very much in moderation. Right, 14, breathing. This is huge, huge, huge. Okay, so I consider, there's people that have better balance than I do, but I'd say I have very good balance compared to the average person. So what are like the two things that I do that, what are the two keys I would say? I mean, like all these exercises will help, don't get me wrong, do all of them. But the two like edges that I have, very good core strength from all the gymnastics and calisthenics that I do. Again, you don't have to be super advanced, but even being at an intermediate level will really help. And breathing. If you're not breathing, let's say you're on a slack line and you're holding your breath, you're like, the tendency is when you feel like you're gonna fall, you suddenly go, "Ooh," right? But if you stay relaxed and calm, it helps everything. So doing that deep breathing while you're shaking. So like, let's say you're doing some like one leg exercise and you're like, so that breathing will mess you up. So you want to go. So like the breathing is super important. Make sure you're staying calm and doing good deep breathing. Now, well, let me skip to 16. So 16 is to make sure to work every joint. So like I said, maybe for your wrist, if you've never tried, like let's say you're in a push-up position, maybe try to do push-ups where you're like elevated this way and you do that. Any joint you can think of, stability matters. So, whether, if you're like a wrestler, for example, your neck is incredibly important, or if you're like into martial arts, like jujitsu or something. I've heard mixed things about neck bridges or bridges. But anyway, the point is, think about every joint in your body and ask yourself, are you doing something for that joint? Now, what I've given you is a good list, so start here. Also, in the description, I'll put in a ton of other links. Maybe not a ton, but a good amount. So be sure to check that out. Maybe there'll be more ideas or some support for things I've said here. And I want to give you guys a master tip. So a lot of these things are great, but like I said, the two key things that I think I have that give me an edge are good core strength and good breathing while I'm stabilizing. And of course, if you have a good athletic background, you've done a lot of activities, things build on each other. So part of the great thing about being a generalist is you're gonna have better stability and balance. So here's the master tip. One word, grace. I don't want you guys to think of balance and exercise just when you're doing these exercises and then go, into your normal everyday life and be this like clunky person. Think of your whole life as balance and stability. So whether you're getting up, any transition, you're getting up from your bed, you're sitting down, whatever you're doing, you're walking up the stairs, you're saying hi to your friend. Think of it almost like a dancer. You want to do everything gracefully. So, you know, if you're sitting down on the floor, like, did you just plop down on the floor because you couldn't control your, you know, did you like, oh, did you do something like that? Whether there's pedestrian traffic, you're walking on the street, did you just like clumsily get out of the way? Or did you kind of like smoothly get out of the way? We talked about stabilizers as like this micro level of muscles. So smooth transitions in everything that you're doing. So, you know, it might help to study some dancers and how everything is just so graceful. So see if you can do that. It might be as simple as whether you're opening your laptop, putting away your books, getting a cup of coffee. Are you just like reaching into your, you know, pocket for change really clumsily? It's like dropping it. Everything should be smooth. That creates the habit of emphasizing balance and stability throughout your day, not just during these exercises. That's gonna help, but like I said, the master tip is try to do everything with grace. It's a process, you're not gonna get there overnight, but keep that in mind. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.